or platform to criticize President Trump substantially.
Yeah, because he deserves the criticism. He's done some awful things in America, and he's, I think, a really terrible person.
Buckle up, because John Legend just took J.D. Vance and Donald Trump to task live on air, and let's just say they never saw it coming. In just a few minutes, we'll break down how Legend tore apart their tired talking points, flipped the script, and left them floundering like students caught cheating on a pop quiz. And as if that wasn't enough, Chrissy Teigen swooped in, turning Trump's favorite insults into comedy gold. This isn't just a celebrity feud. It's a masterclass in shutting down political nonsense with style.
Weak. In fact, if you watch the debate, we were discussed by our presidential candidates, including a very special, interesting man named
to Donald Trump as a
John Legend didn't just call out J.D. Vance and Donald Trump, he set them ablaze like a 4th of July fireworks show over Mar-a-Lago. This wasn't a polite debate or a measured critique. Legend went full scorched earth, dropping truth bombs so precise and brutal that J.D. Vance probably wished he had stuck to being a quiet author. And Trump? He was left scrambling for the nearest Wi-Fi router like it was a life raft, only to take the bait, hook, line, and flopping tantrum, just like always.
Influx of Haitian immigrants who have come to our city. Now, our city had been shrinking for decades. We didn't have enough jobs. We didn't have enough opportunity. So people left and went somewhere else. So when I was there, we had upwards of 75,000 people. And in the last 5 years, we were down to like 60,000 people. But of late, during the Biden administration, there have been more jobs that opened up, more manufacturing jobs, more plants, factories that needed employees and were ready to hire.
The link is in the description. From separating families at the border to botching pandemic responses, Trump's record reads like a masterclass in how asterisk, not asterisk, to run a country. John Legend didn't need to shout. He simply held up a mirror and let Trump's own chaos scream back at full volume.
I think he's selfish, he's racist, he's misogynist, he's a liar, probably the worst liar we've ever seen in public life. He's really ill-informed, a narcissist. I could go on.
And J.D. Vance? Legend practically handed him his own biography, marked up in red ink. Here's a man who once condemned Trump as corrosive and dangerous, only to execute a gold medal-worthy backflip the moment the MAGA base dangled a political career in front of him. Legend made it crystal clear. Vance's credibility evaporated the second he swapped principles for clout, transforming himself into Trump's most obedient lapdog. He went from thoughtful author to political puppet faster than you can say asterisk, hillbilly sellout asterisk.
He's made it clear throughout his life that he believes black people are inferior. Like he believes that to his core, in his bones. He wouldn't let us live in his buildings back in the day. But also, when you hear some of the stray comments he makes, he clearly believes in a genetic hierarchy of humanity and is racially determined. So he is a tried and true, dyed in the...
The best part is that Legend didn't even need to resort to name-calling. He simply exposed the glaring contradictions, the hypocrisy, and the shameless pandering, letting the facts do all the heavy lifting. His approach was clinical, almost surgical, as he sliced through their nonsense. And Trump? He just can't handle that kind of truth. Instead of subtle jabs, Trump demands total submission, short-circuiting predictably the moment Legend's segment aired. Retreating to his golden palace, his fingers flew over the keyboard, producing a rage-filled, typo-written manifesto on Truth Social filled with wild accusations, whines about unfair treatment, and even desperate reminders of his crowd sizes. You could almost hear the staffers groaning in the background, wondering if they'd be called in to clean up yet another mess.
Media loves to talk about January the 6th. And of course, January the 6th of 2021, if you were violent, if you committed acts of violence, then you should be prosecuted for them. Everybody believes that.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Does everyone believe that, JD? Because Donald Trump thinks it was a day of love.
J.D. Vance tried to play it cool, issuing a lukewarm statement about being misunderstood, but the damage was already done. Legend pulled them both under the spotlight, exposing every flimsy argument, and then walked off stage as if it were just another day. The internet exploded, memes flew, hashtags trended, and late-night hosts sharpened their monologues, piling on with glee. Legend didn't merely hit them where it hurt. He reminded everyone just how effortlessly you can dismantle their charade when you have facts, logic, and a touch of swagger on your side. This wasn't just a call-out. It was a public execution of every lie, exaggeration, and self-congratulatory fantasy Trump ever peddled about criminal justice reform. John Legend, as cool as a cucumber and as sharp as a scalpel, dismantled Trump's delusions with the patience usually reserved for a kindergarten teacher correcting a child who insists that 2 + 2 = 5. Trump's entire narrative unraveled in real time, piece by ridiculous piece, while Legend barely broke a sweat.
Until we're proven guilty. It's not fair that we have a system that relies on you having enough money to pay your way into freedom. I've been involved in this movement to end mass incarceration in the country for about a decade now. The work all of us did to make sure pretrial freedom was extended to more and more people, it actually paid off in improving real human beings' lives, their families' lives, and made all of our communities safer.
Trump has always clung to his so-called criminal justice reform efforts like a drowning man clinging to a life preserver, desperately waving the First Step Act as proof he's some kind of civil rights hero. In his mind, he's the second coming of Martin Luther King Jr., just with more golf courses and questionable hair. But Legend wasn't buying it. He laid out the reality. Yes, the First Step Act happened and introduced some necessary changes. But here's the kicker. Trump spent the rest of his presidency undoing every positive step it could have achieved. Legend highlighted how Trump turned his administration into a rollback factory, filling it with people intent on reversing progress, reinstating mandatory minimums, and encouraging the over-policing that disproportionately targets Black and brown communities. The man who claimed to champion justice reform was the same one retweeting calls for harsher crackdowns and cheering on law enforcement like they were contestants on a dystopian reality show. And it didn't stop there. Legend dismantled Trump's favorite trick of taking credit for others' work while conveniently forgetting the messes he left behind. Trump loved to boast about saving lives, fixing broken systems, and breaking chains. Yet Legend reminded everyone that behind every flashy signing ceremony was a president more interested in photo ops than actual policy outcomes, unable to show genuine care unless the cameras were rolling and applause was on tap.
Wrong about Donald Trump.
In 2016, you called your running mate Donald Trump unfit for the nation's highest. You've been asked many times, and you've said you regret those comments and explained you then voted for Donald Trump in 2020. You're now his running mate, and you've shifted many of your policy stances to align with his. If you become vice president, why should Americans trust that you will give Donald Trump the advice he needs to hear and not just the advice he wants to hear?
Well, first of all, Margaret, because I've always been open. And sometimes, of course, I've disagreed with the president, but I've also been extremely open about the fact that